Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of From Page to Stage. I'm your host, Wendy Corner, and this podcast is for you if you are an author, if you are an entrepreneur, because if you're an entrepreneur, you're an author. And you might think, well, really? If you've got a solo book out, if you're a contributor to a multi-author book, as an entrepreneur, you may well have a blog. You're certainly producing stuff on social media, aren't you? Therefore, you are a published author. So what are you doing? Are you talking about your work? Are you getting out onto stages? Let me just blow out another definition on that one. I don't simply mean a raised platform with a microphone in your hand. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about podcasts as your first step on stage, if this is not something you're familiar with yet. Welcome. You're in the right place. Today, great joy and pleasure to introduce you to ZORAIDA Morales, who is a fabulous lady based in the US. Now, I could wax lyrical about ZORAIDA, but I'm not going to. I'm going to let her describe herself, give herself an introduction, because she knows herself far better than I do. ZORAIDA, welcome. And share with us a bit more about who you are and what brought you to this place in life.
Thank you. Thank you, Wendy, for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here with you. So thank you for that. So who am I? You know, I consider myself a learner and a teacher. And it happened after getting a cancer diagnosis in 2008. And I took chemotherapy for 13 years after getting a leukemia diagnosis. Yes, 13 years. And I'm about to celebrate my 3rd year anniversary in remission, August 9th. So I became a learner and a teacher because I started to, once I got this diagnosis, I asked myself so many questions. I mean, I went through this metamorphosis, right? And the most important question I had to ask myself was, how did I want to live? I had never asked myself that question before. And actually, the next question I kind of asked myself was, do I want to live? Do I want to die? Yeah. And I know that sounds really harsh, but I had to ask myself that question. Yes. Because it went back to, how did I want to live? Because I didn't know how long I had, right? I mean, I was told that my chronic myeloid leukemia will be a bigger issue in the 15th and 20th year because it's a slow moving cancer. Okay. But again, I had to ask myself, how did I want to live? What was I hungry for? What do I need that I don't have, and how do I get it? And there I went on this journey, and I just decided that when the time came that I was no longer physically in this world, I didn't want to live with regrets. I wanted to travel. I wanted to have experiences. I wanted to love. So I said, no matter how long I have on this world, these are my boundaries. And I had a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old child, 2 children, and that young age. So like any mother, I wanted to be there and see those milestones and experience them. And I'm happy to say that my 22-year-old just graduated from college a few weeks ago. And my little one is in his 2nd year of college, going for his master's in business administration. So I'm just so grateful to be here. I can't tell you.
Oh, I can only imagine. I can only imagine, because back in 2008, the diagnosis of cancer was more of a death sentence than it is now, with all the research and the advancing treatments.
Yes.
And chronic myeloid leukemia doesn't get much airing, does it? Acute, everybody knows about acute myeloid leukemia.
Yeah.
Audience, if you're not all familiar with this is a blood cancer.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to get everywhere.
Yeah, it's in
Because
my
your
bone
blood
marrow.
system takes it all over your body.
Yeah. Yeah. My
Ooh,
blood
not so
marrow
good.
is producing it.
Yeah.
And I'm the first one in my family with cancer. I was 45 years old.
Mm-hmm.
No one in my family ever has cancer. There's no history of cancer in my family. And so it was really difficult because no one knew how to hold space for me. Their own traumas and their own fears and their own limiting beliefs kept them from really giving me what I needed. And so I had to learn how to find happiness within myself, even though my body was telling me otherwise, even though the world, because when I got diagnosed, the market crashed. So I got
Of course.
diagnosed 2 months after 2 months after the market crash in 2008.
And you were working in the financial field, weren't you?
I was working in the financial industry. Yeah. At Morgan Stanley. Yeah. And so it was a turbulent time in
Mm.
our lives. But here's the beauty of all that turbulence, that I realized that I'm the only one that can make myself happy, with or without chemo, even with or without the external things. And that's one of been my biggest lesson, my greatest lesson.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rather than not have had those circumstances, but hello, as you said, you are a learner. Would you have classed yourself as a learner before that happened?
Yes. I mean, I love school, and I have like 3 certifications, and I'm about to go for a fourth one at the end of this year for hypnotherapy. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, I'm one of those people who I love to learn.
Yeah.
And I've always been a teacher. I mean, when I got diagnosed, I was a finance manager in investment banking. And so I supported and managed and supervised 200 support staff. So I had to coach them when they didn't,
Mm-hmm.
when they weren't doing well with their talents.
Mm-hmm.
And I have children, and I've always been the friend that people came to and say, hey, what do you think about this? But
Yeah.
I never considered myself a teacher until now. Because
Yes.
now, after 13 years of taking chemotherapy and just using different modalities and working through and processing my traumas, my generational traumas, my childhood traumas, I've realized that there's a reason why I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm supposed to be here. And I'm not religious, so I'm just going to say God, universe,
Mm-hmm.
spirit, source, um, to help heal the world, right?
You're
And so
here
that
on purpose.
someone when someone else gets that cancer diagnosis, I don't want them to feel the loneliness I felt, because it's the most loneliest diagnosis you can ever have. I mean, there's
Yeah.
others, of course, but it's a very lonely, and
Mm.
I
I
get
mean,
to walk
picking up on one
alongside
of the points
others.
you mentioned earlier on is that your family didn't know how to hold space for you. It's so difficult for the people around the person with the diagnosis
Yeah.
because they're dealing with their own stuff and they feel helpless to be able to help the person with the diagnosis. So
Yes.
it doesn't, the diagnosis doesn't just affect you, it affects
It
all of
affects
those
everyone.
nearest and
I
dearest.
mean, it affects your family, your
Mm.
friends, anyone you come across on a regular basis, it
Yeah,
affects them.
yeah,
And so my family, you know, you can't give what you've never received. There goes their traumas. They never had to be this compassionate. They never had to be this empathetic. Um, And so they couldn't understand it. But then it's unfortunate that the word cancer still has that stigma of secrecy, like she's got cancer. And that's what
That's not
happened a
talked
lot
about.
around me in my
Mm.
neighborhood, taking my kids to school. She has cancer. That's why her hair's short. I mean,
Did you lose your hair through the chemo?
my hair got short.
Okay.
So I was on this chemotherapy called Gleevec, where your hair doesn't fall off entirely. But it was short. It was like 1 inch.
Okay.
At some point I just had to cut it, right? So that I can have some structure.
Mm-hmm.
And I wore a wig certain years.
Yeah.
But I've got my own hair now, and I'm so happy.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it means everything to me, my hair. But it's
Mm.
taken me a long time, it's taken me 2 years to grow my hair back, and I'm so happy with it.
Yeah. And audience, isn't that something that we take for granted? And this is an illustration, it's not the only thing, but we often take things for granted until we're put in a position where it's either a threat or it's taken away.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I remember sharing a little bit of my background. I remember nursing, I was auxiliary nursing years ago, and I was on an oncology ward. And this lady, young lady, she probably wasn't more than about 23, acute myeloid leukemia, no, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And she had
Mm.
beautiful red long hair. She just started off her chemo, and she said to me one morning, "Am I losing my hair?" And I had to be honest, yeah, you have left quite a lot on the pillow.
Yeah.
I couldn't sugarcoat it for her.
Yeah.
I felt I had to be honest with her.
Yes.
But it really hurt because, as I said, she had a beautiful head of gorgeous ginger hair, and it was long too. So it would be very clearly obvious. The reason I was asking about that was because you were saying about
Yeah.
if people are wandering around with a turban on, that's often a cue. But I love the
Mm-hmm.
fact that you were wearing a wig. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm actually about to restyle my wigs and donate it to a cancer survivor. So
Yeah.
I'm very happy for that, because
Love
I
it.
have about 3 or 4 that I've
Mm.
wanted to do that for someone else, because it takes a long time. I had to get over the stigma of wearing this wig, right? I'm not I'm not Kim Kardashian, right? Stars wear wigs all the time, but when we want to have our own hair,
Mm-hmm.
when we have chemo, I mean, when we're taking chemo, meanwhile, if I was just a regular person, I probably would wear a wig just to have fun, and it wouldn't have that same stigma. But because I had cancer, I just, my sister said, "Oh, people are going to notice."
Thank
And I was
you.
like,
Helpful,
"Oh,
not.
I know." I was like, "That's okay. It's okay. Like, I don't mind talking about it."
Mm.
So yeah, I had to,
It's not shameful. It's not as though it's something that you've gone out and gone, hello, cancer. I'm up here.
but some people do look at it like that,
Yeah.
Wendy. I mean, look at the phrase you just said to me. "Oh, people are going to notice you have a wig." I was like, I don't care. Like, after having to take chemo and not feel good and throw up and feel nauseous and not look and feel my best self, what do I care?
Yeah. Quite.
It put things into perspective for me. Yeah.
Mm. Absolutely. So, yeah, my heart goes out to you because I've
Yeah.
had other. Actually, no, my brother-in-law passed away from. I think his was acute. Yeah, because he went into remission for a few months. It came back again, and then he decided, well, it's not working. Let's just
Yeah.
go gracefully. So I have a little experience.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear
But
that.
that's fine. That's another matter entirely. This is your show, so we'll talk about you. But Zoraida, what prompted you've got a book, haven't you? Tell us about your book, would you?
I do. So because I got this diagnosis and I started to do a lot of journaling, right? I was trying to get into good mental health.
Yeah.
I started to learn mindfulness and journaling and meditation. And through all the meditation and journaling and podcasts, someone asked me to write a chapter. And so I've actually written 2 chapters. One is on single parenting, because I became a single parent while taking chemo. So I actually asked for a divorce while I was taking chemo. I had to. It was what was best for me. But I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. It's just way too much to go through. I had to sever a 24-year relationship, right? And with children. And so I wrote a chapter on single parenting. And then last year, I had the honor of contributing to Perspectives on Cancer and writing about my cancer journey. And this time I wrote on devotion to self, because that's what it took for me to get here.
Yes.
And I want to tell you a funny story. Well, maybe not funny, haha, but I wrote devotion to self means a lot of things to me. And one of the things it means to me, it means you remove yourself from situations and people that do not longer serve you.
Yep.
And so I had to remove myself from my family, my mother, my siblings. And so I didn't spend a lot of time with them. And so in this chapter, I wrote a little excerpt on the moment I told my mother I was getting a divorce. And all she could do is chide me, shame me. What was I doing to my kids? I should know better. I'm a child of divorced parents myself, blah, blah, blah. Nothing was about me. Nothing was about my dear child. You're taking chemo. I cannot imagine what you're going through and why you came to this decision, right? I didn't get any of that. So she didn't read my first book because she was still angry at me that I removed myself, because when you empower yourself and you take control of situations, other people don't like it, because now they're not getting what they need, right? They don't have a punching bag. They don't have someone doing things for them. And so she read this chapter and she called me and she said, I read your chapter 5 times and I had no idea what you were going through and how my words affected you. And she said, I want to do things differently. And that was 3 days before I moved 400 miles away from New York.
It was very recent then, wasn't it?
Very recently. It was May of 2024. And yeah. And in that conversation, I said, Mom, I'm moving to Virginia in 3 days. So if I wouldn't have written this and how I really felt, we would have never reconciled.
Yeah.
We're talking, I've been away from her for 10 years.
Yes.
It's been a really long time. There's a lot and again, a lot of it was her traumas, our generational traumas, limiting beliefs, COVID.
Yeah.
But I spent all those years working through that. So I have forgiven her. In my heart, I had to forgive her because I knew that I had to release myself of all the pain body that I had in my body. Like Eckhart Tolle talks about the pain body, I was feeling it while taking chemo.
Yes, you would have done.
Yeah. So I've had so many good things happen because of this diagnosis. And I know that's weird, unusual, hard for some people to hear. But for me, cancer has been a gift. It's been a gift because I took the opportunity to really dig deep, not only work through my traumas, but really came to the realization that I have to take responsibility for myself, my own happiness. I have to parent myself the way I parent my children. I have to be my own best friend.
Yes.
I don't think I really, really did that before. Now I feel free.
Oh, how many of us, though, do take the time to sit with those existential questions, if you like, and how we treat ourselves, unless or until we get,
yeah,
it can be a subtle nudge, or it can be that sort of smack up the back of the head. Have I got your attention now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of us don't, Wendy. And you know why? It's so much easier to, binge on Netflix.
Yep.
Have a drink.
Yes.
Smoke some weed. Talk to your friends. It's, just do everything but do that.
Yes.
I gotta admit, I really didn't spend a lot of time doing that before I got my diagnosis. Mm-hmm. And now it's all I want to do. I just, I met this spiritual teacher a few years ago, and all I wanted to do was heal. Yeah. Right? All I wanted to do was heal. But now it's 3 years later, and I'm actually looking at ascension. I am looking at ascension. So right now, I'm in the middle of 40 days of self-love and ascension with my spiritual teacher and a group of people. And there's about 200 of us now. And I never thought about ascension before, but I've done so much work on myself. I'm like, I think I'm ready. And so I'm actually looking forward to after you and I having this conversation, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to sit with my own self after I take off my makeup because it's nighttime here. And I'm going to replay this conversation that we're having. And I'm going to take all the love in and feel it in my heart. And then I'm going to do the 40 days of self-love for today. And it's just going to end my day on such a beautiful note.
Love it. Love it. ZORAIDA, we've covered quite a lot of ground already, but I want to backtrack for a minute. This podcast is called From Page to Stage. We've heard about your author work. I want to dig in a bit on your speaking work. You mentioned earlier that part of your job in corporate was to train people. So you've obviously been speaking for a while in a different guise.
Yeah.
Would you say, has there been any other examples prior to that, maybe, where you've been speaking as well?
I've always spoken my truth. I've always felt very comfortable speaking in groups. So, it makes sense that the publisher of the Soul Parent book has asked me to speak on a stage next year during International Women's Month.
Oh, fabulous.
And so this is going to take my speaking to a different level now. And I'm also working on the Speak and Inspire workshop to get myself comfortable and acclimated, which I do now with these podcasts. Yeah.
Excellent. So this opportunity in March next year, 2025, is that a physical stage? Is it a virtual stage?
Right now it's virtual.
Okay.
But I'm actually liking the idea of something physical, and I would like to see how that goes.
Yeah.
Because I'm very interested. Never would have thought of it before. But again, now that I've worked through all this trauma, now I have the consciousness that I can aim higher, do something that's out of my comfort zone. Because I know that, I've got such a big story that when people hear it, I want them to take something away. And what I want them to take away is that devotion to self.
Right.
Because that devotion to self came from wanting to work through that trauma. Because I felt so alone. I just didn't know what to do. And I just knew that I had to dig in deep inside and just find happiness.
Yeah.
Regardless of what was going on in the world. Like now, look what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
It would be really easy to stay in that negative space or not, right? But I've learned to remove myself from that to get what I need to do done, because there's a time and place that I can devote to that.
Yeah.
Whereas there's been times where I've sat in front of the TV, in front of the news, and wept for 2 days because I'm that empathetic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, particularly as an empath, you have to preserve your own energetic boundaries.
Exactly.
So that you don't take on literally the world's pain.
And I don't want to sit in that dirty diaper. That's what my spiritual teacher calls it. I mean, it's good. You have to feel it and you have to process it, but you don't have to sit in it for 48 hours.
No.
1 hour is enough.
Feel it, let it go. Feel it, let it go. Yeah.
Exactly.
Work it out that way.
Yeah.
You were saying about working through your traumas. Now, not everybody has had your exact story of a cancer diagnosis and working through that, but we all have an element of trauma in our lives.
Yeah.
So what you're saying, the vehicle may be different for you, but the engine is pretty much the same for everyone, regardless of where in the world they are. So we now know that you've got two contributory books out, and you've been speaking from a teaching perspective for a long time. We're now exploring, you're very good in your podcast, and you're thinking of setting up your own podcast, aren't you? Are you?
I'm actually, yes. And I've had to put it aside because I moved 400 miles away from New York, and the frequency here is just so dynamic that I said, okay, I need to relaunch my business.
Right.
But let's go back to this podcast, which I'm going to start working on at the end of the year. I'm going to share inspiring stories on cancer from the perspective of the cancer survivor, the cancer caregiver, and the advocate.
Oh, nice.
And so I want to invite... That goes back to
what we were saying about it's not the one person, it's the whole ecosystem involved. Yes.
Exactly. And so I want people to, I want to remove the stigma of cancer.
Yeah.
I want to talk about cancer in every aspect: boundaries, love, body image, sadness, grief, guilt, shame,
anger,
marriage, divorce, children. I mean, I want to discuss it all. And so I want to invite people from with different perspectives to come in and share.
Yes.
Like, for instance, I met this gentleman the other day, and he is a psychoanalyst and an empathy coach. And his perspective on cancer is basically 2 words: show up. Show up. I love it. You hear that someone has cancer, show up for them. So I want to invite so many people like you, my highly sensitivity friend, coach who's a friend as well, publishers, people from all walks of life. And then I've made this list where I've dreamed big. So Jay Shetty is on my list. There's certain people that I want to be able to have this conversation with. Lewis Howe, Yeah.
One of the things I will put you in touch with her, as I'm sure she'd love to talk to you. We had a TEDx speaker 3-4 years ago. Audience, if you weren't aware, I was the head speaker coach with TEDx University of Western Australia for 5 years. I'm on the road at the moment, won't be doing it this year. One of our speakers is a leading professor in leukemia research.
Wow.
I'm sure she would love to talk to you about her work.
I would love to hear about her
yes,
work.
I'm not sure I've already shared her TEDx talk with you, but I will send that to you privately. Yeah, so absolutely. And here in Australia, audience who are not from Australia, 1 in 2 in Australia have some form of skin cancer in their life. Most of the time, in some of the places, it's sunny. And of a certain age, people were out in baking. So there's a big rise in skin cancers, and it's not simply melanoma. There's the basal cell and the there's the third one. Anyway, there are different forms of skin cancer. So having arrived in Australia, cancer does not have the same level of stigma because so many people are impacted. And we are pretty much told, go and get a skin check every year. It's part of your absolute necessity for healthcare.
Wow.
So
are they encouraging people to use sunblock every day?
Yes. Slip, snap, slop is the
I use sunblock every day, even in the winter.
Yeah.
And I live on the northeast of the United States. And that is because from years of taking the chemo, I have this sensitivity to sun.
Yes.
And it burns.
Yes.
And I love the sun, by the way. I mean, I moved to Virginia Beach in Virginia, and I'm a mile from the ocean, from the Atlantic Ocean. I love the ocean. So I had to move here. And I have to wear sunblock every day, my entire body, even when I'm driving. Especially because when I'm driving, because the sun is coming through the glass. And and it's
the damaging UV radiation that's hitting you rather than the positive stuff, which is helping you create the vitamin D. So,
meanwhile, I have
you walk a tightrope.
Yeah, and meanwhile, no one would think that someone with my skin tone would be so sensitive, but you just never know.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I can tell you, going around Asia, most people have got an umbrella. Now, that's not always for the rain. A lot of it,
a lot of it's for the sun. Yeah. Yeah. So, and in the United States, a lot of the Asian people still use the umbrella when it's really sunny. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Because of traditionally they would have had the straw hats that covered the certainly the head and neck.
Yeah.
But anyway, we've digressed a lot. So tell me, what are you working on at the moment?
So right now, I came to the ocean and I just had this moment where I said, why am I not creating a VIP session, like a 2-hour session where I can give instant value on the mental, physical, and the spiritual nutrition and how to heal, right? Whether you're taking chemo or not. So for me, the 3 pillars of nutrition, right, is you start with the mental portion. And the mental portion is getting your mind around the fact that you have cancer and how do you want to live? Because that's the first question you've got to ask yourself.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And then what do you need in its place, right? So you need to learn mindfulness, right? We may need to remove some emotional blocks. And so we use mindfulness. We'll practice meditation, breath work, journaling, whatever works for the client, because not everything is going to work for the client. And I like to meet people where they're at. So I like to give them
do you mention the importance of language? Because what you say to yourself is what you'll experience out loud, out in the real world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really important. Yeah. So sorry, I interrupted you. So you got this
no.
2-hour value packed.
Right, a value packed, and then we're going to talk about the physical, right? The food, nutrition, as well as the movement, because you've got to start eating more whole foods, eat less minimally processed food. And you've got to move your body, right? Take a walk, do some yoga, exercise. I exercise every day, and it's not because of my body image. It's more for me to release. That's how I release stress.
Yes.
And I've exercised my whole entire life, so it kind of works for me. And then the spiritual portion. And for me, the spiritual portion isn't who or what you believe in. It's that you believe in something higher than yourself.
Yep.
And then that's where the devotion to self comes in. And once you can devote to self, you can actually devote to your community, and you could devote to the world. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Oh, it does. Because I mean, we've spoken before that you can't give to other people. And you've mentioned it already. You can't give what you don't have. So unless you fill your own cup,
right,
how can you contribute to other people? The classic oxygen mask.
And devotion to self is so many things. Like, for instance, my mind likes to ignore my heart, just like my ego does sometimes. Oh, you know what I'm saying, because I could see it. Okay. So I've made the heart the leader, because all my life, the mind and the ego were the leader.
Yep.
And I didn't really process life through my heart. But when I got my cancer diagnosis, I made the heart the leader and the mind and the ego to follow and support. And so my mind, I'm on a Zoom call, and my mind will start thinking about things that we can't think about right now because we're busy having a conversation with Wendy. And I'll say to my mind, okay, we're going to talk about that at 7:00. We can't do that right now because we're having a conversation with Wendy. And I know I do this and I do this. And 2 minutes later, the mind will come back with the thought. And I go, I see you. And I'm very playful with my mind, because remember, that's me. That's another entity of me. And I want to be kind to myself. I want to be loving to myself, right? And so sometimes, one day that happened to me about 3 or 4 times, and I was on Zoom calls for like 8 hours. And I think, and finally at 7:00, we spent time thinking about the thing that I needed to think about. Again, the mind was always ruling my mind, ignoring my heart. My heart likes to be calm. My heart likes to be having one-on-one conversation and not multitasking. And so these are like these little things. And these are not things that people can see. These are things that are going on in my own head. Yeah. We know that our own mind sabotages ourselves. So for me, the devotion to self is where I do not allow myself to sabotage myself. Right? That sounds strange. And
no, I think that's brilliant. And again, it's partly what you're telling yourself. You're pulling out the fact that you're being playful with yourself. How many of us have got that inner critic?
Well,
wags the finger.
Well, that's how I was brought up. I was brought up, come on, you could do it. You're not stupid. That's how I was brought up. And I'm not saying that it was such a terrible thing. I'm just saying that it didn't work for me. It didn't motivate me. Matter of fact, when I got my cancer diagnosis, I was motivating myself that way. Come on, you could do it. You've gone through a lot of shit. This is just cancer. It's not a big deal. But I wasn't being kind to myself. I was exhausted. I just wanted to sleep. But my mind was like, no, we have to get up. We have to do things, because my mind is accustomed to, I'm a doer. And so I had to learn to be a human being instead of a human doer.
Yeah.
And now, my son said, oh, can we talk tonight? And I said, well, I'm going to do a podcast tonight. Can we talk tomorrow? But in the old version of me, I would have made myself available, even though I knew that I will want to have that time for myself, to be with myself, to receive this hour with you, because that's important to me.
Yes.
So I had to make those kind of decisions, and I have to do them all the time with myself and with other people.
The boundary.
It's boundaries.
Yes. Yeah.
My boundaries were very loose before I had cancer, and now they're tight. But you know what I've learned, Wendy? Having boundaries doesn't hurt other people. It doesn't take away from other people. I think the word self-love has been used so badly that people automatically think that you're being selfish, but you're not being selfish. You're being true to yourself, and then you could be true to others.
Yes.
Then you can, when you're ready, right, you can be there 100% instead of trying to multitask and then being upset with yourself because you didn't really do a good job of concentrating on your child, and then you didn't honor yourself, right?
And then
That's
there
the way.
comes in the shame and the guilt and the blame
There
and the
goes the
critical.
shame and the guilt.
And here we
Exactly. You
go
know what?
again, rinse and repeat. Yeah.
Right. So for me, the devotion to self is really important because then I can devote to my community. I can devote to the world, which is what I want.
So you're creating this 2-hour transformational session.
Mm-hmm.
Have you got a launch date for that yet?
Okay, where are we? July something. I just threw a number and it was August 15th.
August 15th. Okay.
Yeah. I just went to the calendar and I went like that. So I've got to get it done by then. So now I'm working on my social media, and I've already got the outline and the website is up, and
Brilliant. Brilliant.
yeah.
Well, what we'll do, Zoraida, I'm not sure whether this will go out before the 15th. I'm rather tied up with travel over the next few weeks. But what I will do is I will make sure that there is an announcement on my socials to look out for this podcast coming. And in the meantime, if you can give me a link that we can share ahead of time, we'll make sure that goes out as well.
Oh, thank you. That's so kind of you. And look, you do this at your convenience because I know you're busy.
Thank you. Yes, it's the time travel, and I mean time travel. Audience, just to give you a little bit of a hint, I am leaving Melbourne, Australia, which is where I am currently, to go to the UK over Sunday and Monday night. That doesn't matter when this is happening, but the point is, I'm going to be shifting 9 hours time zones.
Yeah.
So it'll be a bit different. And it's that adaptation, and it's going with the flow and fitting into the new time zone and all that wonderful adjustment to be made.
Yes.
So yes, there will be a few days when it's adjusting, coming into a new time zone. So thank you for that.
And that's okay, right? You're not going to put that pressure on yourself. And this is what I mean. You're not going to put that pressure on yourself.
I will well and truly be in UK time by the 15th of August. Yeah. So we'll make sure that that's done. I've written a notion and I will pop it in my calendar. Remember to put a post up about Zoraida's work.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Oh, that's and audience, our show notes are dynamic. So whenever a guest comes into me with, oh, we've got something new, then I go in and I change the show notes and I put up a quick post on my socials to gauge that brilliant conversation I had with Zoraida. Well, she's got something else out. Go back and check out the podcast and look at the links on the show notes. And if it's a new book, we get you back in again. We'll have a good conversation about that. So I've had one return guest so far who started doing a compilation one, and then she put out her own solo book. It was in the works already. So we had that earmarked. And if you've got a time-sensitive themed session, like the week that came out was the week of July the 4th. So we had 2 authors who had July the 4th themes. So it went out that week.
Yeah.
We ended up having 2 ladies in 1 week who were talking about happiness.
I love
that. Happened in 1 week.
This
week, we have 2 gentlemen talking about mental health. One in the entrepreneurship stage, and the other's coming at it from poetry.
Nice.
So I'm surprised at the threads that come through my weeks. Always intentionally, but it's amazing how it happens.
I know. It's divine timing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It is. And you said something about poetry, and it reminded me of, during the journaling, I wrote something on forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
because I had to learn to forgive myself, Wendy,
Yeah.
for what I didn't do, for what I said, for what I didn't say,
Mm-hmm.
for not standing up for myself, for playing too small, for taking people's shit, for allowing, for staying in relationships too long, and for, and will you be okay if I were to read a little of it? Because I think that, do we have time? It will be less than 4 minutes, but I know that it can help someone.
Okay. Well, look, I'll stop
Because,
the recording while you go find it, unless you've got it there
oh,
immediately.
I have it with me.
Oh, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is something that I wrote and that I released with the May 2021 full moon total lunar eclipse. I'm an astrology buff. And this was at the tail end of my forgiveness tour, because I was forgiving everyone, right? But now it was time to like really forgive myself. And then so I wrote, I accept myself for what I participated in. I said what I said, and I did what I did. And I understand that at that time, that felt right to me. And at that level of consciousness, I did not know better. Now I understand more of what my truth is and how I show up in the world. I see things differently because I'm a different me. I am aware now, and I am bigger in my consciousness and in my heart. I no longer hold myself hostage. I am not my past. I am enough. And I will love myself, and I will love myself some more. And so it is with serious joy.
Beautiful. And I can hear in your voice that is still very poignant. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It was the best thing I ever did. It's how I
Yes.
shifted. And
And
I
it's
encourage.
something that, because so many of us are externally orientated, and as we said right back at the beginning of this interview, that it's only when we have something that we are not in control of that makes us look inward and go, well, how am I going to react to this?
Yeah.
And what else can I do to ease a journey that I wouldn't necessarily have chosen? Audience, just pulling up a little bit of personal stuff. I found my husband dead. I went home from work one day and found him out like a light. He'd had a major heart attack. We'd been married 20 years. And quite literally what came out of my mouth was, today really is the first day of the rest of my life. It's only when you have a situation like that that we are usually prompted to go inward and have a look.
Yeah.
I think both, forgive me for speaking for you, Zoraida, but Zoraida and I have both had experiences that we would not have chosen, but both of us have seen that ultimately as a gift. My invitation to you, audience, is don't leave it till you get that smack up the back of the head.
Yeah.
Consciously do this for yourself. Ask yourself, as Zoraida has, how do I want to live?
What am I hungry for?
What am I hungry for? Authors, I rather suspect that you've already gone down this road anyway, but share this podcast with anybody that you know who is working through a diagnosis of cancer. Because we're going to pop in the show notes all the ways that you can get hold of Zoraida.
Yeah.
As you've already witnessed, this woman is worth getting to know. She's an absolute powerhouse when it comes to helping people navigate that journey that they would not have chosen. However, going through it, coming out the other side, whatever that looks like.
Whatever that looks like.
And supporting you and your family down that road.
Yes. And know that caregivers need so much love and attention and information, and they're thrown in this role as caregiver, and they did not choose that role. And they are now trying to learn how to love themselves and love and take care of someone else, which is really difficult because there's not that many programs out there for caregivers. So
Yes.
believe it or not, my first client was a caregiver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because there's that feeling of helplessness and I should be able to help. And then there's the guilt and the shame around that.
Right. And then how do I?
Yes.
How do I?
Yeah.
And you don't know what to do. And you're too emotionally involved because it's usually someone you love so dearly.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Your traumas usually do not let you see the new perspective. Yeah. That's why it's important to forgive yourself, mainly yourself, for all the things we did and didn't do, and forgive others because it keeps you stuck.
Yeah.
And it causes pain body.
Yeah.
And
that's a whole new conversation, ZORAIDA. We'll come back again another day and
I know, of course I will.
Body.
Pain body. I could tell you a lot about pain body. I've experienced a lot of it.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So as we're winding up, how do you embody your words as you take them from page to stage?
Living life by design and not default.
You're living out your words in your book, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, audience, you know how to get hold of ZORAIDA. We will look and make sure all those links are on the show notes. Do please share this episode with anyone that you know, or even just go back over it yourself if you're one of those in an ecosystem, either your own diagnosis or somebody else you know nearly and dearly. Share the information because we've had some gold today, haven't we? Anything we've missed off, ZORAIDA?
Well, look, I'd be happy to offer anyone a complimentary call.
Love it. Thank you.
If they say, I saw you on the Wendy show.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, the show notes will explain how to get hold of ZORAIDA. Do please contact her because I said, you won't regret it. You really won't regret it.
No, they won't. And if they want to learn how to take care of others or even how to take care of themselves, I'd be happy to share my tips. And again, I like working with people when they're at their own level of consciousness. So if journaling doesn't work, we'll work on meditation. If meditation doesn't work, we'll try a different modality, yoga, until we find something that works for the client, because we're all at a different level of consciousness.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. It's not a one size fits all. Beautiful.
That's right.
Thank you so much, ZORAIDA, for sharing with us your From Page to Stage. For now, bye from us.
Bye.